On board the Luna maiden voyage, taking a look at the TV. There's been a lot of disinformation or different kinds of information on what will work to extend the TV. How can I connect external devices to it? Or can I connect external devices at all? There's been a lot of stuff on there saying both HDMI and USB ports are disabled and that you can't connect anything to them. But that's not going to be the case, as I'll show you in this video. The first thing I want to do is go through the things I brought on board in preparation. So okay, these are all the things that I brought on board in preparation. One's a 6-foot HDMI cord. One's a 3.3 foot HDMI extender. Those were very important, as I'll show you here in a minute. I also brought on 2 hard drives loaded with movies and TV. I brought a flashlight and a headlamp, which are definitely helpful. I brought a laptop computer, and I brought a universal remote. This is actually an older remote, an RCA that I've had for years. So it doesn't have to be a brand new, up-to-date universal remote, but it has to be one capable of many different manufacturers. And I did buy a video player. They're fairly inexpensive, around $40 on Amazon. Basically, you can plug a hard drive into them and they'll play videos without needing a laptop or a computer. Then we have the basic remote that comes in your cabin. You'll notice that there are no input buttons on there, so you can't change to inputs with that. That's where the universal remote comes in handy later on. I'm turning the camera sideways. Here's your ports on the back of the television. It is close to the wall, like they say online and a lot of things, but it's still manageable. You can actually get your fingers back there and plug stuff in and out. I've done it several different times, so it is possible. You just have to work at it a little bit. Definitely not impossible at all. So the first thing I did was plug in a USB drive just to see if anything came up on the screen, because normally you plug in a USB drive, something should come up with the content on the drive with a menu selection. Okay, so the USB is plugged in. As you can see, nothing's changed on the television screen. It's not paying attention to the fact that the USB is plugged in at all. So you can see it plugged in right there. The first top 2 are your USB ports. There's a couple audio ports right above there, but I think that this is a Samsung maybe 6000 series television anyway. It's got 2 USBs and then 2 HDMIs below that. But it doesn't care that the USB is plugged in. Next thing I did was enter the code to get into the admin programming on the remote. It's posted online in many places. You can take a look at that. It's not going to do you much good. A little menu will appear right here and want you to put in the code. It's an 8-digit code, which means there's 100 million combinations. And I've used the default ones posted online. None of them worked. It would take you 13 years, no, I'm sorry, 3 years, 62 days to actually go through all the combinations if it took 1 second per try. So I don't think your cruise is going to last 3 years, so that's not going to be a good option. So then, using my universal remote, I programmed the Samsung equipment codes in. The 5th one I used or tried worked on the TV. Pressing the input, I actually get HDMI 1 to come up. Why isn't it coming up now? Oop. Then I get HDMI to come up. Then HDMI 3, and then Portal. So all the HDMIs are available. The software, these are hospitality TVs, so they have software, they're interconnected into a network. The software can have the USBs disabled, they can have the HDMIs disabled, or of course they can have both. They can also know when you unplug them from the server. They can also know when you try various codes to try to get into the admin part, and if you fail or if you succeed. So unless you want to be banned from the cruise, I would strongly suggest not trying to do that. Like I said, I don't think you're going to be successful because the number of codes are exponential to the amount of time you're going to be on the cruise, so why bother? But the HDMIs are open, which is really good news for us. So anyway, I'm going to connect the HDMI cable to the back. Okay, so I think if you hold the HDMI cable and make it kind of stiff and straight like this, you'll have a better time plugging it in. You want to make sure to orientate it like the plugs are on the back, and it should plug in fairly easy. Okay, I think you can see now that it is plugged in, and it's plugged into the first HDMI right below the last USB, which is HDMI 2. So now you have the 6-foot HDMI cord on the back of the TV, which is really nice. You're going to have to string this. Anyway, this is a balcony room, so if you have this configuration, you're going to have to string it across like this. Cut it. 3.3-foot extender. So you're going to plug your female HDMI into your male HDMI like that. Now you're extending it all the way over here to where there's power. There's USB ports here, and there's power. So now I can put my computer, my video player, whatever I want on here. Okay. So the cool thing about doing the extension cable is that you can unplug it. You can stow all of this stuff over on the counter, and then you can take the cord and you can wrap it around the TV and just lay it on the top. So you don't have to mess with plugging and unplugging it. It'll look just like nothing's plugged in the entire time you're on the ship. So now I have a hard drive just plugged into the HDMI video player. And so we can watch movies without needing the internet. If you want to use the internet, maybe hook in a Roku or maybe a PlayStation, something like that. You can certainly do any HDMI device that you want, depending on the speed of the internet on the ship, stuff like that. Your internet dependent device may or may not work well at all times. I like the idea of not having to purchase an internet package. I just simply do this. I can watch anything off of my hard drive, and it's loaded with movies and all kinds of content, so I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so now on our universal remote, we just press the input button, and we go to HDMI 2, and we see that we're connected to the video player. So I can certainly watch whatever I want to watch of content on there. And like I say, any HDMI enabled device should work just fine. It looks like the HDMI ports are all enabled. USB ports are disabled. I did try the USB after I got the universal remote hooked up and put content through the USB just to make sure it didn't appear. Sometimes those things will be non-visible until you actually put content through them. But definitely the USBs are disabled on this. So anyway, I guess happy viewing, and hope that your voyage goes well.